Hey there, welcome everybody to Ridiculously Raw, the most must-see show on YouTube and StreamYard.com today. I am your host, Anthony Floyer, joined as always by good old MF Michael Fletcher. We are awaiting the presence of the phenom Michael Bullock. If he comes in, we'll catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we'll hopefully have him back with us Thursday night for the season premiere of TXN Sports World's College Football Thursday. We got a lot to get into here tonight, and we're not going to waste too much time. Hopefully we can get this done in a timely manner here tonight. So, because we, in addition to Monday Night Raw and NXT, like we always do, we also have NXT Heatwave to address. NXT Heatwave taking place this past Sunday night from the Lowell Memorial Auditorium in Lowell, Massachusetts. And we started it off with a triple threat match to determine the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship. It was Kalani Jordan versus Jada Parker versus Lola Vice. And Lola Vice wins the match, 11 minutes and 53 seconds. And because of this, Lola will get her opportunity at No Mercy, the next NXT Premium Live event, which will take place on Saturday night, September the 27th in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. There was never a lull in the action because they started taking turns. One woman would sell for a bit while the other two fought and then would cycle someone else out. It's a familiar pattern used to keep everyone fresh. All three of these superstars have proved they can go in the ring, so there was no shortage of fun spots and moments. That being said, it also felt like some of the bigger spots weren't being sold enough. It never felt like any of the three competitors had a clear advantage over the others, so the outcome was one of the harder ones to predict all night. And Lola secured the win to earn the future title shot. And so for me, I got to give this an excess of 3.25, 3.25, teetering on 3.5. It was definitely between Lola and Jada. We all thought Ms. Parker with the bigger following, but then again, Lola, she had she's especially with her work in AAA recently. I know she's been in line for a push for a little bit. So honestly, I'm not surprised or upset about this outcome. Lola is definitely deserving of the shot, and she will get it. No Mercy, a month from now, September 27th. So we'll see how that plays out. So 3.25, teetering on 3.5. Good old MF Michael Fletcher, come on in. Lola Vice, the new number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship. She'll get her shot at JC Jane at No Mercy on September 27th.
Yeah, and I got to give that 3.25. You're absolutely right. I thought it was a solid matchup. Lola winning was, you could say in a way, not a big surprise. I think a lot of people were very happy to see Lola win it. Would we have been angry if it would have been somebody else? No, because I think each woman is deserving. I think Kalani's been looking really great lately, but like we said, she's still too young, still not there yet, even though she's had a good success in the ring. But then the other two people that we would have thought would have been Lola or even Jada Parker. And, either way, the outcome was never in doubt. But, for her to win it, solid enough. Nothing more to say. So, Anthony, it's yours.
MF, you lead off on the next match, which was for the NXT Tag Team Championship. The champions, Hank and Tank, defending against two members of Dark State. And they ended up being Dion Lennox and Osiris Griffin. Winners of the match in 10 minutes and 16 seconds. And new NXT Tag Team Champions. It is Dark State. MF, we definitely had this one.
Yep.
And now Dark State has the Tag Team Championships. Expect the Freebird rule to come up a lot now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we basically were saying that if there was one thing they needed to establish was a dominant faction in WWE, or I should say a dominant faction in NXT. And the one team that we were saying and that we were looking at was indeed Dark State. So for them to win the tag team titles is not a big surprise. Hank and Tank did very good. They were very serviceable as the tag team champions, but it was Dark State's time to really step up and show the world that they are the most dangerous force in NXT, and they have indeed pulled that off. So this was a solid 3 stars. Congratulations to Dark State, as history was made. I won't call unprecedented crowning, but I will say history was indeed made. So, Anthony, it's yours.
Oh, don't worry. You'll get your chance. You will be adding unprecedented crowning later on, if you know what I mean. So, but anyways, it's a solid 3. This match had good energy, but it was a little too all over the place at times. That is Dark State's whole vibe, so it's not out of the ordinary, but it's just not ideal either. After some interference from Cutler James, Dion Lennox, and Osiris Griffin got the pin and became the new NXT Tag Team Champions. So, no big surprise about this. So, well, actually, speaking of unprecedented crowning, here we go. Triple threat match for the TNA Knockouts World Championship. The champion, JC Jane, defending against the former champion, Masha Slamovich, and Ash by Elegance. Winner of the match in 12 minutes and 19 seconds. And new TNA Knockouts World Champion, Ash by Elegance. Yes, she did it. Ash by Elegance, the new Knockouts champion. She brings the title back to TNA, much to the delight of TNA President Carlos Silva, and, of course, a certain panelist to my right here, which we'll get into in just a moment. These 3 competitors did not hold back and turned this into a very physical encounter. Fans who only saw Ash's work as Dana Brooke in WWE might be surprised by her performance in this bout, because she has improved a lot since leaving WWE. Even though Ash was involved in plenty of spots, it felt like this match was all about JC Jane and Masha Slamovich. They had the most near falls and the biggest moments. Jasmine Nix was caught cheating and booted from ringside, which made no sense because there are no disqualifications in triple threat matches. And now the Elegance brand has all the gold. Heather and M are the Knockouts Tag Team Champions. And now Ash by Elegance, the brand new TNA Knockouts Champion. She brings the title back to TNA. And we will hear. And as announced by TNA earlier today, it has been confirmed that we will hear from the new Knockouts Champion, Ash by Elegance, this Thursday night on TNA Impact. 8 p.m. Eastern on the TNA Plus app for those of you who have it, including myself. Or if you don't, 9 p.m. Eastern on Access TV. So you'll get your chance to hear from her. So big moment for her. I mean, I know she had a lot of detractors. She had a lot of haters and a lot of folks who said that she wouldn't amount to anything. She's just an enhancement talent and all that good stuff. And for the most part, she was for many years. She was a lackey for Charlotte Flair. She was a lackey for Titus Worldwide. And now this is her moment now. She finally gets that moment that's been long overdue. The only significant title she ever held was what? That silly 24/7 championship. Yeah, well, you can forget about that because this will forever be the biggest win of Ash by Elegance's career, regardless of where she's been. And she has worked very hard for this moment. She put out a very powerful statement after her title win on social media. And when I read that, I gained a lot of respect for her. And I honestly thought she'd never amount to anything, but hey, TNA proved me wrong, and good for her. She definitely deserves this moment, and I'm very happy for her. And now the Elegance brand has all the gold. What else is there to say when it comes to the Knockouts division? So 3.5 stars is how I give this. So not much more to say. MF, It's been well documented. It's no secret. For so many years on this program, you have waxed poetic, not just about her beauty, but also about her athletic ability and the whole 9 yards. And you've been a very vocal supporter of Ash by Elegance, Dana Brooke, whatever you want to call her. And now, Ash by Elegance, the brand new TNA Knockouts champion, far and away by a country mile, the biggest win of her career.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This was exactly the moment we were waiting for. For me, for Ash by Elegance to win the TNA Knockouts title is a big deal. It's a humongous win too. It's a humongous moment in his career, and for him to be the champion, I'm so thrilled more than anything else. But to win it was exactly what it needed it to be. A great win for a very deserving champion, to say the very least. Now, I know a lot of people are very, like you said, a lot of people were not as high on some of the others. I know a lot of people were not that high on Ash when she first got the opportunity, but to win the championship, to win the belt, and to win it the way that she did, um, it's such a great moment and such a great victory that I'm ecstatic and so happy for Ash by Elegance, and now the Elegance brand um, did announce that they were going to honor the memory of Ash by and as a matter of fact, TNA president Carlos Silva even signed off on it, thanks to the little help from the Elegance brand to assure him that they were going to have the moment. And yes, Ash it's going to be honored on Thursday for being the new TNA Knockouts Women's World Champion, and for that was without a doubt a great moment for me. You know how much I've been so high on Dana Brooke, Ash by Elegance for a number of years. When she was that lackey for Charlotte Flair, when she was the lackey for Titus Worldwide, when she had that brief partnership with Doc Gallows and Luke Gallows and Gallows and Anderson, and that partnership briefly. That was the minute where I fell for her. But now here she is, and to do what she has done, for everything she went through, and now to be the TNA Women's Champion for the first time in her career. Yes, it was definitely a great moment, and I am very, very, very happy with the outcome. So, nothing more to say, Anthony. It is yours.
New champion, Monsoon. You know what that means.
Yes, it was. It was indeed history made. However, again, I cannot yell unprecedented crowning because, if you remember, at the end of it, the Elegance brand actually did have a factor in the pinfall that led to Ash to win the belt.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Next up, we had, speaking of TNA Knockout champions, one of the greatest knockout champions of all time was in action next. Jordynne Grace. She squared off against Blake Monroe. Blake Monroe wins the match, 12 minutes and 47 seconds. MF, no big surprise here. Blake needed to win a lot more than Jordynne did.
Yeah, no, Blake is trying to establish herself as one of the top stars in NXT, and right now this is kind of the moment where Blake needs to win. So for me, this was a perfect outcome, a great outcome for her, and yes, to me, I'm very happy with the victory here. Blake getting the big win, first major moment in her career to really establish herself as one of the top stars. So Blake coming from AEW, now really solidifying herself as an NXT star. Jordynne, no shame in her defeat. She definitely is one of the top people in the day. So yeah, no doubt about it. I'm very happy. So nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours. This was at least a 2.5 to 3.
I'm leaning more towards 3.25, 3.5. Maybe more 3.25. I mean, it was a physical match, but it never felt like it reached the level it should have after the personal attacks Blake Monroe made against Jordynne Grace during the build-up. Jordynne should have been out for blood, not trying to work her normal style. And the crowd went almost silent for the finish, which was surprising because the match had decent heat. So 3.25 stars for that. So I'm going to keep my usual aftermatch thoughts to myself because we got a lot to get into. So with that being said, let's move on to our next matchup, which was the mixed tag team matchup. NXT North American Champion Ethan Page and Chelsea Green, accompanied by the Secret Hervis. They went up against Tavion Heights and Tyra May Steele. And it was Ethan Page and Chelsea Green winning the match in an even 9.5 minutes. By default, this was the worst fight of the night. I got to give this about in excess of 3 stars. Despite this match taking place in the United States, it felt like the crowd was pro-Canada, which caused Ethan Page to grab a mic and say they would not give any of them citizenship in an attempt to get the fans behind the babyfaces again. It ended up being a solid match that would have benefited from a few more minutes. And the crowd was really behind Chelsea and chanted for her multiple times. Chelsea was, no pun intended, ridiculously over in this match. So, solid 3 stars. By default, the worst fight of the night. And I believe I had this outcome. I had a feeling this was going to be the outcome for some odd reason. My gut told me to go with Ethan and Chelsea to win, and this goes to show, always listen to your gut, even if you have second thoughts. So, solid 3 solid 3 stars. I'm glad I stuck to my guns. Not much more to add on. So, MF, Ethan Page, and Chelsea Green win the mixed tag in 9.5 minutes.
Yeah, well, the problem is Tavion Heights and Tyra Steele is they're kind of trying to establish themselves, where Chelsea Green and Ethan Page are already well-established stars. So this is one of those where they were trying to manipulate it as USA versus Canada, but the thing was that you had 2 overt Canadians against not really established Americans, and it did not work. It was this is one of those times where, I hate to say this, the fans betrayed the baby faces. They were more about the heels. They loved the heels. They thought the heels was a bigger impact, and that's why we got the outcome that we got. When you have Chelsea Green and Ethan Page, even though nobody liked Ethan Page, Ethan got the heat and everything else, but Chelsea is just too good of a star and is too big of a name right now that they want her to get every opportunity. Anytime she's on the pay-per-view, anytime she's on the card, it's an automatic win. I'm sorry. This was, if they were trying to establish Chelsea and Ethan as the heels, for the most part, it backfired because Chelsea is that much more over than I think the fans realized. And when they did that, that was the moment that we realized, oh. So, unfortunately, the outcome was never in doubt. They got the outcome correct, but if you want to say it was a disappointment, yes, because the fans kind of hijacked the match more than anything else. It is a 3-star bout. So, Anthony, back to you.
And we move on, MF, to the main event of the evening for the NXT Championship. The champion, Oba Femi, defending against Javon Evans. The winner of the match, 17 minutes and 43 seconds. And still the NXT champion, the ruler, Oba Femi. MF, there's nothing left to say. Fight of the night, without a shadow of a doubt.
Fight of the night, 4.25 to 4.5 stars. No doubt about it. Total agreement. The outcome was never in doubt. I know we both were thinking maybe Javon. Nah, man. We're living in Oba's world, and we just got to live it. The, the sooner this guy loses the belt, the sooner we get him on the WWE main roster. Because now we're getting to a point that he may be wiping out the rest of the division, and there might not be anybody left for him to go after. So we don't know, but yeah, this was without a doubt the most dominating performance that I could ever imagine. And my God, what a performance it was. Truly, truly, truly one of a kind. Javon gave us that double moment where he hit two cutters on Oba that it gave us a hope spot. He hit him with a regular cutter, then he hit him with that springboard cutter that normally would spell the end, but Oba was able to get out of it. But then the moment that kind of turned the fight, where basically Javon gets basically rocket launched it through the table, and then the power bomb to put the good night into that match. Oh my freaking word! What an ending to that match. I was watching it with my buddies Jake Turner, Austin Sloki, and the boys, and lady, because there is a lady in the group. Her name is Aubrey, but we call her Ubs. And we all were like, "Oh my God!" When Javon went through the table, we were like, "Oh my God, he's dead!" Like it was like the infamous Simpson moment. Stop it! He's already dead. Well, that's how we felt like it was. It was already game over. That was the end. But now the next guy who stepped up, it could be Ricky Saints now to possibly go after the NXT title. So we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, this was definitely a great way to close it. Anthony, like I said, 4.25, 4.5, and it's all yours.
Yeah, 4.25, 4.5 for sure. They told a good story of how Javon Evans was wearing Oba down and surprising him with his resilience. The last few minutes was the most exciting portion of the bout. Javon Evans was pulling out all the stops, and Obafemi was doing his best to fight him off. They had the crowd chanting, "This is awesome," as they built toward the finish. It looked like Javon was going to win, but Oba's foot was under the rope for the pinfall. So another referee waved off the call, and the match continued. And then Oba scooped up Javon and threw him over the top rope and through the announce table in the wildest spot of the night. The crowd was not happy about it, but Obafemi ended up getting the win to retain the NXT championship. And yeah, Ricky Saints. So we're going to have more on that when we get into NXT in a little bit. There's more to that story. So hang on that one. So 4.25, 4.5, most definitely the fight of the night. Overall, NXT Heatwave was exactly what we have come to expect from an NXT premium live event. It had some decent action and a couple of surprises, but nothing that happened is going to dominate the news cycle. Ash by Elegance winning the Knockouts Championship was shocking, especially since WWE tried to telegraph a victory from Masha Slamovich during the build-up to the event. Dark State winning the tag team titles was predictable, but will be a welcome change and add some chaos to that division. Hank and Tank are a solid duo, but their reign had already run out of steam, so that was the best decision for everyone. The two bouts that stood out the most were the women's #1 contenders match that was won by Lola Vice, and the main event NXT Championship bout between Obafemi and Javon Evans. Both matches showcased some talents who could be future stars on the main roster. NXT has a great roster that often feels undeserved by the week-to-week storytelling. Let's hope the rest of 2025 sees these same men and women continue to shine. I'm going to give this in excess of maybe 7.5 to 8. I think that's fair. What says UMF?
7.5 is my rating. I thought they did a really good job. It was a solid show to say the very least. So let's move on to Monday Night Raw.
The real reason you're all here, our namesake. This was the go home episode before a Clash in Paris on Sunday, so a lot of time would be spent hyping the PLE and tying up loose ends with the storylines that will be featured. So with that, let's get into it. Monday Night Raw. Well, actually, technically Monday afternoon Raw, because of the fact that we're on another international tour here. A special start time yesterday of 3 p.m. Eastern for those of you who have the Netflix, and we were live from the BP Pulse in Birmingham, England, and we started it off with an in-ring segment. This week's early edition of Raw from England opened with a recap of last week's show and the usual shots of superstars arriving at the arena. As advertised, Roman Reigns came out to kick things off. After soaking in the love from the crowd for a couple of minutes with various chants and singing, the OTC finally spoke and said he has big plans for the rest of 2025 and into next year. Reigns said he is no longer the man he used to be, but can be once again. Reigns talked about how he no longer has the bloodline backing him up, but he took a moment to say he was proud of Jey Uso. Paul Heyman and Big Bronson Reed came out to taunt Roman. The segment went on for quite some time because the crowd kept chanting different things repeatedly. Reed also gave us a history lesson about his Samoan tribe's history. They ended up running toward each other and brawling in the aisle after both men talked some trash. They battled into the ring until security tried to break them up unsuccessfully. They fought until the show went to a break. The first 20 minutes were pretty standard stuff, but the fight between Reigns and Reed helped make the ending more exciting. So that's all I can get out of it. I mean, that's just my professional opinion. Personally, I most certainly enjoyed the segments. So, especially as MF, especially for one reason, and that is, as MF calls them, those knucklehead fans, those knucklehead Euro fans, and I know MF was definitely having fun with that. I could hear him snickering during all the funny things they did yesterday, especially the Roman Reigns song that they did. So, yep. So that's the best part about these international shows. These crowds are just so, by God, energetic and enthusiastic. You gotta love it. So that's all there is to say there. So solid promo to start it off. So MF, Roman Reigns, Bronson Reed exchange some words. Then they have a brawl. We're gonna get those two in a Be a Man fight in Paris on Sunday.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's going to be a hell of a match to say the very least. But at the end of the day, yeah, it was very good to say the very least. Very good to start the Monday Night Raw. Roman, you can tell there's certain people that you don't even need to say anything. They're just, the aura is there. When Roman came out, the aura is there. When anything he does, there's just an aura about, the OTC, and that's why fans love him so damn much. And then the other thing is, when you get that kind of thing, it's amazing. So yeah, I really was very impressed with how this played out. So great way to start out Monday Night Raw. Yes, everything else was really good. Nothing more to add. Anthony, let's move on.
All right, MF. We move on to our first match of the night. Dragon Lee squaring off against JD McDonough, Finn Balor in JD's corner. Dragon Lee wins the match, 8 minutes and 40 seconds. And MF, Dragon had a little bit of help because AJ Styles neutralized Dominic Mysterio, and we know it's far from over with those two.
Yeah, Dom has an AJ problem now because AJ cost them at Triple Mania for the Mega Campeon. Now he kind of got involved in this little situation, and it's really getting to the point now where it's like, all right, when are we really going to do this? So there's really nothing more to say. Um, it, like you said, I think we all were waiting for the moment, and this was solid. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, there's really nothing more to add. So Anthony Florio, you could say this is an easy 3-star bout, and big win for Dragon Lee. But the thing is, AJ is still involved and still making life miserable for not only Dominic Mysterio but for the Judgment Day as well.
Well, Adam Pierce later in the show, he he provided what will hopefully be a solution to that problem. Next Monday, Monday Night Raw will be in Paris, the La Defense Arena, which is where the Clash in Paris will take place on Sunday. Another early start time, by the way. This time 1 hour earlier, 2 p.m. Eastern. This Labor Day Monday. So, for those of you who have to worry about working and all that, well, you don't have to on this case. I know I don't. So I'll get to watch this live. I couldn't yesterday, but I did watch it, when I got home, and, I caught up with it. So I saw what I needed to see. So, but next week will not be a problem. And I mentioned this because next week, Dominic Mysterio, AJ Styles, Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. The rematch, the return match from SummerSlam. So we'll see what happens with that. As far as this match was concerned, slight overscore, MF. I think this is more of a 2.5, maybe 2 3/4. It was a fun match between two guys who are great at what they do, even though they have different styles. It felt like they meshed together perfectly. A great display of how versatile both of these superstars are in the ring. Dominic interfered, but was quickly dispatched by AJ Styles right after he tripped Dragon Lee, and that allowed Dragon to hit his finisher, Operation Dragon, and score the win. So 2.5, right around that 2.5, 2 3/4 threshold. Moving on to our next match, Penta squaring off against Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, and Grayson Waller in Kofi's corner. And Kofi Kingston actually wins the match in 10 minutes and 10 seconds. I got to be honest. I got to call this a bit of an upset here. 3 to 3.25 stars. This bout had a good pace and felt even more competitive than Penta's match with Xavier Woods last week. Kofi is more of a high flyer, so he was able to adapt his style to match the luchador style of Penta. But with a little help from Grayson Waller, Kofi was able to get the win with Trouble in Paradise. And Kingston's in-ring style is so much better suited for a babyface, but he is good at doing the other things he needs to do to look like a heel, a villain, in a sense. So 3 to 3.25 stars for the effort here. And MF, yes, Kofi had help from Grayson Waller, but still, Kofi beating Penta in 10-10 at this stage of his career, I got to be honest, I got to call this a bit of an upset.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I can totally concur with the upset mentality. I think a lot of people would even make an argument that, does this hurt Penta because of this loss that he just suffered? But I don't know if it's devastating or not. But whatever the case may be, this was a huge win for Kofi Kingston to solidify him yet again. So yeah, well done. Really nothing more to add. I could give this about 3 stars. So Anthony, it's yours.
Alrighty, and we move on now. Just checking to see. Then we had some backstage stuff. A notable backstage moment here. General Manager Adam Pierce, and I know this is going to upset a lot of people, especially MF. Adam Pierce informed Stephanie Vacour that she is the number 1 contender for the Women's World Championship. He said the title is vacant, so her match could not happen in Paris. He asked her to wait a week and said he already has an opponent in mind. And then Stephanie said she wished she could be at Clash in Paris, but she understood and will be ready. That's what we in the biz call a hook. That's a hook for next week's show. So, but anyways, we move on. We have another promo segment here. It was the Women's Intercontinental Champion, Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch came to the ring for a promo and immediately started talking trash about Birmingham, where the show was taking place, but she was soon interrupted by Nikki Bella. They traded some trash talk and insults, and the segment ended with Becky retreating after Nikki got the better of her. It was short and uneventful, but it worked as a filler segment before their showdown on Sunday. But there is some heat on Becky Lynch because of a certain comment that she made about someone that we lost recently, a resident of Birmingham, England, none other than WWE Celebrity Hall of Famer Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
And she not only has heat from WWE, but she also got some heat from Ozzy's daughter, Kelly Osbourne. And Kelly responded. She was not very happy with the comments that Becky made regarding that. And as we always say, to make it short and sweet, because, I know some people would go on a rant about this, but I'm gonna keep this short and sweet because we have some other things we need to get into here. As we always say, there are certain lines that you cannot cross and you should not cross. And Becky Lynch's comments about the passing of Ozzy Osbourne were reportedly not approved. And it led to Ozzy's daughter, Kelly, taking to social media to express her outrage on the situation as she called out both Becky and WWE for their behavior. And it was noted that the company is embarrassed of the situation and is currently in contact with Kelly with an apology, either public, private, or possibly even both, expected to be issued very soon. And, Becky's great as a heel. She really is. And like Bullock said on I believe it was on our last show, this current heel run for Becky is the best one she's had yet.
Yes.
She's thriving in this heel role. But the comment I thought was a little out of bounds for my taste. But it's unfortunate. But I understand feeling the need to go there. I get that, but in this case, I think, as great as Becky is, and she is great, I have all the respect in the world for her. And I'm very grateful to have her on Monday Night Raw for sure. But I think you went a little too far there, Bex. A little too far. But that's just my way of saying it. But, the segment was, like Randy Jackson would say on Idol, just aight for me. So, but I do have a feeling that they will have I think they got a good match in them. I hope they have a good match in them. So, and it is official. Clash in Paris, Sunday. Becky Lynch, Nikki Bella, Women's Intercontinental Championship. So we'll see what happens. Does Becky's run continue, or do they give Nikki a possible last title run? We'll see. So, anyways, moving on to something much more positive. It was Rhea Ripley squaring off against Roxanne Perez, and Rhea Ripley wins the match in 10 minutes and 40 seconds. Raquel and Roxanne attack Rhea after the match, but then Rhea gets saved by Io Sky. And needless to say, Asuka and Kairi were not happy about it, especially Asuka. You saw how pissed off Asuka was about this. So, MF, do you lead off on that, or do I lead off on it?
I lead off on it, Anthony, but I totally agree with your sentiment here. The match was fine. I thought it was about a 2.5 to 3 star bout. But again, what really led to the outcome of it was exactly what you said. It just was one of those real interesting matchups, to say the very least. And it was solid for what it was worth. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really think they did a fine job with it, and there was really nothing more to add. So yeah, I thought they did a fine in the main of. I thought it was a fine match, and I get why Oscar's pissed, because again, you're alluding to the thing in the past. So I thought they did a really good job. So Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah. This is about 3.25, teetering on 3.5. Despite Rhea having a significant size advantage, Roxanne was the one who came out of the gate with the most aggression, and it didn't take long for the Eradicator to gain the upper hand, but she seemed surprised by Perez at first. Match was decent, and the post-match angle will keep the story going, but nothing surprising happened here. And Raquel Rodriguez needs more to do than worry about everyone else in Judgment Day. And that's really all I can say on that. And there was a spot in the match where Roxanne went after Rhea's knee on the apron. Looked very painful. But right around 3.25. I think that's the best I can go. So not much more to say. We move on to here you go, MF. Here's an MF special for you. I know you never get tired of seeing these two go at it. These two men, formerly a part of the Bullet Club in New Japan, MF could tell you stories upon days about that faction, and these two men were two of the core members of that faction. The phenomenal AJ Styles squaring off against Finn Balor, and AJ Styles wins the match. I'm very surprised. Only 8 minutes. I thought they would have gotten a lot more time considering their bodies of work, but all right. All right. These two men know each other well, so it took them no time at all to find their groove and make this a fun bout. The first few minutes were mostly a series of counters from both men. It seemed like an even matchup between the two veterans, but the phenomenal one ended up getting a much quicker win than expected with the Styles clash. No interference, no questionable finish, just a short, clean win for AJ Styles. And AJ is so good at putting a little extra something on his strikes to make them look realistic. So, and that dropkick Balor hit was nasty, and AJ hit that corner hard. So, pressed for time, if I'm being honest. I would have liked to have seen more, of course. I know MF would, because this is an MF special, as I said. So 2.5, 2.75, solid match. But MF, you know better than anybody, these two are capable of way better.
Yeah, but I understand why they did a shorter match with this one, because there's probably still a lot that they needed it to film more than anything else. At the end of the day, they did the right thing. It was still a solid matchup. Yeah, really nothing more to add. So, yeah, 2.5, close to 3, and I'm good with it. So, Anthony, it's yours.
All right. And then another Bayley vignette aired. We could hear her inner dialogue again. She heard from the inspirational hugger Bayley about how they believe in themselves. And then she heard from heel Bayley, who was negative. And then there was a moment with Adam Pearce and Lyra Valkyria asking about a medical update on Bayley. And then that's when, and then shortly after that, Adam Pearce made that Intercontinental match official. So even with a pay-per-view coming up, we actually do have something announced for next week's show. Usually they don't do this, but in this case they did. Dominic Mysterio, AJ Styles for the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. That goes down next Monday. And it led us into our main event of the evening. LA Knight squaring off against the Vision's Braun Breaker with Paul Heyman in his corner. Winner of the match in roughly 13 minutes and 20 seconds, it was Braun Breaker. And then after the match was over, of course, we got all the craziness and the shenanigans. Seth Rollins getting involved, Jey Uso getting involved, CM Punk getting involved, and the whole nine. And Not much more to say. MF, your thoughts on the main event and all the craziness after?
Yeah, no, I thought it was a very good moment. I thought they did a really good job with it, and yeah, I thought it was amazing how they played out. So there's really nothing more to say. AJ winning the match, incredible body of work. Nothing more to say, and I really love the fact that they did an incredible job. So solid main event, solid matchup. Nothing more to say. It is all yours. So great outcome, big victory for you know.
Braun
But the
Breaker.
thing for Braun Breaker, but now the game gets a lot more serious because you notice everything that's been going on. So nothing more to say. Solid main event. Anthony, it's yours.
Did you give a rating?
Three and a half stars.
Agreed. 3.5 stars is the rating. This was the fight of the night. These two men have worked together enough to know how each other operates, so they were able to put on a good performance that made both men look good. So, and then of course Seth Rollins showed up, distracted LA Knight, and then Jey Uso and CM Punk came out to even it up, and then you notice Jey Uso, CM Punk, and LA Knight all getting into it, and it was Jey Uso standing tall. So, of course, we know Fatal 4-Way for the World Heavyweight Championship in Paris. Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Jey Uso, LA Knight. We'll get more into that on Friday. So, overall thoughts. This is right around that 7.5 threshold. Monday's episode of Raw from England was exactly the kind of show you would expect leading into a PLE. Just about every match that would be featured on Sunday was addressed in some way, especially with the first and last segments of the night. As far as the in-ring action was concerned, JD McDonough and Dragon Lee, very good match. Some would even say they stole the show with their match, but Kofi Kingston and Penta weren't far behind. The WWE superstars are capable of putting on great performances when they're allowed to, but the booking often hamstrings them in a lot of ways. Monday's Raw was largely forgettable, but it wasn't a bad show. It just didn't have anything to make it stand out. 7.5 for me. MF, your overall thoughts, and then we'll get into NXT.
7 out of 10. Total agreement. Anthony, one show to cover for the night, and that's NXT.
Yes, indeed. And this was, of course, the fallout from Heatwave back at the CWC, the Capitol Wrestling Center, the Performance Center in Orlando. We are fresh off the Heatwave PLE, and a few things have changed in NXT since Sunday. Dark State are the new NXT Tag Team Champions. JC Jane is no longer the TNA Knockouts champion. Ash by Elegance is. And Lola Vice is the new number one contender for JC Jane in the NXT Women's Championship. Tonight's show dealt with the fallout from this past weekend while beginning the build for No Mercy on September 27th. And let's take a look at what happened on tonight's show. We're going to bypass this opening thing here. NXT opened with the obligatory recap of Heatwave before Ricky Saints came out to kick off the show with a promo. He talked about being successful at Heatwave, but was quickly interrupted by Josh Briggs, who was still bragging about beating Yoshiki Inamura in that Philadelphia street fight last week. Before things could devolve into a fight, General Manager Ava came out and announced that Josh Briggs would face Ricky Saints later in the show in a number one contenders match for the NXT Championship, I believe at No Mercy. There wasn't much in that segment, but it was short and effective, which is definitely a good thing sometimes. And then we get into our first match of the night, as it was Kalani Jordan squaring off against Blake Monroe. And how about this? Kalani Jordan actually wins the match. 4 minutes and 16 seconds. Yeah, that's going to be another bypass here. All right, let me see. Pretty short match that didn't have enough time to really get going before the finish. But Kalani Jordan getting the win was a good call. The loss will not hurt Blake Monroe. So there isn't much more to say on that. This was pretty much a back to reality show here tonight. How about this? Lexis King versus Miles Bourne, channeling their inner Jake the Snake Roberts and the model Rick Martel from WrestleMania 7. A blindfold match. And yeah, I know, MF. I know you were not a big fan of that match. You've told me many times back in the day how you didn't like that match. This match was no better. Lexis King won the match, though. Another short match, 4 minutes and 51 seconds. Don't worry, we're going to get into some things on this, I promise you. Blindfold matches tend to be very bad. Jake the Snake Roberts and the model Rick Martel at WrestleMania 7 for sure. Of course, D'Lo Brown and Triple H from that infamous Raw Roulette in October of 2002. And even the Cowboy James Storm and Chris Harris in TNA even had one of these matches. It was a match booked and designed purely for comedic purposes. This should not have worked, and in most cases, a bout like this would be the worst thing on the show. That being said, I will give them an A for effort, though. They did a good job making it entertaining. And Lexis King was especially good at the comedy spots meant to make him look foolish. Lexis ended up cheating and removing his mask while the referee was blinded, which allowed him to hit the finisher for the win. So, we're not going to really we're not going to really, we're going to bypass that. But this, we are actually, no, here's another cutout match. Izzy Dame and Tatum Paxley of the Culling, Sean Spears and Nico Vance in their corner, went up against Ren Sinclair and her mystery partner, which turned out to be Kendall Gray from Evolve, Charlie Dempsey in their corner. And it was Izzy Dame and Tatum Paxley winning the match 3.5 minutes. Both teams got in lots of offense because the pace was quick and nobody was ever in control for too long. It made the match feel competitive while still being easy to follow. Unfortunately, it felt like it ended too abruptly and too soon. So, another match. I promise you, there's going to be something we're going to talk about here. And I think we finally found it here. Oh, yeah, we definitely found it here. Number 1 contenders match for the NXT Championship. Ricky Saints squaring off against Josh Briggs. And the winner of the match, 12 minutes and 43 seconds, it was Ricky Saints. No surprise about this outcome. And I do believe the match will be taking place at No Mercy from what I heard. So they did not take long to making this a physical bout. They eventually took the fight out of the ring where Briggs was sent into the ring post. Decent match between two guys who are very different in both style and presentation. Briggs is a big man who was quick on his feet, so he was able to keep up with his faster opponent most of the time. Both men had a few close calls, but a spinning DDT from Ricky Saints put Josh Briggs down for the 3 count. And we now know it will be Obafemi defending the NXT Championship against Ricky Saints at No Mercy. It is confirmed. And that's all there is to it. Finally, a good match here. 3 1/4, 3.5. That's the best I can go. Outcome never in doubt. So not much more to say. MF. Finally, something to address here. Ricky Saints defeating Josh Briggs in 12:43, and now he will. And now September 27th, No Mercy, the biggest match of Ricky Saints' career when he challenges Obafemi for that NXT Championship. Is he the one to dethrone the ruler?
I mean, a lot of people thought it should have been Javon Evans. I don't think it's going to be Ricky because remember, there's been rumors about Ricky possibly heading into the main roster. So I don't know. I mean, we'll wait and see how it plays out, but I just honestly don't know. I would like to see it. It's 3.5 stars, so that's my rating for the match. But other than that, Anthony, it's yours.
All right. And then a hype video aired to introduce the WWE Speed titles that are being ported over to NXT. Sol Ruca and El Grande Americano are the reigning female and male Speed champions. And The rules clarified that you must win a speed tournament to get a title shot. The show cut to Ava, who talked about Sol Ruca needing a new challenger for that title. And how about this? We have a superstar from SmackDown, a superstar from Evolve, a superstar from AAA, and a superstar from TNA. And Ava announced that September 2nd, there's going to be, and these are the 4 women representing SmackDown. Candice LeRae, good. She deserves that opportunity, especially after that insane bump she took at SummerSlam. Representing Evolve, Lainey Reed. From AAA, MF, you know this woman better than any of us. The legendary Fabi Apache.
Legendary is definitely the word I would say. Multi-time AAA Reina de Reinas champion, and many people considers her practically, basically, if you want to talk about the greatest luchadoras in AAA, this is it. She is without a doubt one of the biggest, if not the biggest of them all. So this is huge to get Fabi Apache.
And representing TNA, Xia Brookside. And next week, Xia Brookside one-on-one with Candice LeRae. That ought to be interesting. So,
well, the problem is, Anthony, if you know how the speed matches do go,
that's right.
It's traditionally a 3-minute time limit. I was hoping that they actually extend the time limit, and I would push for a 5 to 10 minute time limit for these matches.
Positively. So, anyways, then we had, and then it was announced that Obafemi versus Ricky Saints for the NXT Championship, and JC Jane versus Lola Vice for the NXT Women's Championship at No Mercy. And then we're right back to the cutouts here. Alba Fire with Ethan Page, Chelsea Green, and Piper Niven in her corner, squaring off against Tyra May Steele with Tavion Heights in her corner. Tyra May Steele wins the match, but only in 4 minutes and 21 seconds. Yes, it was another match, but the thing is, this is easily Tyra May Steele's biggest win. Look who she beat. She defeated the woman formerly known as KLR, Kaylee Ray, the Scary Queen of Scots, the greatest NXT UK Women's Champion of all time. MF has followed that beautiful dame's career since her days in the Scottish wrestling promotion that she's in with her husband. So, for Tyra May Steele to get a win over her, that's huge for her. That could be the stepping stone win for Tyra May Steele as she begins her rise up in the NXT Women's division. She's got a long way to go, but we'll see what happens with it. Another short match, but it was good for Tyra to get a win on her record after suffering the loss on Sunday. So, and keeping Steele and Heights, I think, is a good move. Keeping them together is a good move. They complement each other very well. So, but regardless, the biggest win of Tyra May Steele's young career. You beat someone the caliber, even though she's more of a campy comedy lackey nowadays, which is sad because of how great she is. MF and I both know how talented she is. MF more so than me, but it is what it is. So, but great for Tyra, great for her. I watched that. I watch NXT. I watched that LFG show religiously, and I saw her body of work in season 1, and she was pretty dang good. So, but anyways, and then from there, next week, I think we have a better show lined up for next week somewhat. Candice LeRae versus Xia Brookside, Lash Legend versus Jada Parker, and Oba Femi, Ricky Saints, and Hank and Tank versus all 4 members of Dark State in an 8-man tag. We'll see how that goes next week. Main event of the evening, 6-woman tag team matchup. All 3 members of Fatal Influence, now only NXT Women's Champion Jacy Jayne, Fallon Henley, and Jasmine Nix, versus the Women's North American and Speed Champion Sol Ruca, Zarya, and Lola Vice. And it was the babyface team winning the match, 14 minutes and 17 seconds. Oh, MF, this was a breath of fresh air at a time when we damn sure needed one.
Yeah, definitely fight of the night. 3.5 stars. You can even make 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star was the main event. Yes, this was a breath of fresh air. This kind of saves the show from being a horrific number. It gives it, a little bit of life to it, but they did an incredible job with this one. All the women did all the women brought it, and yeah, this was a solid way to close the show. Really nothing more to add. Like I said, 3.5 to 3 3/4. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah. I do have a small bit of constructive criticism. I mean, yes, it was the fight of the night. It was 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. A more than solid match, but it might not have been the right choice to end the show. This would have done better as maybe the opening bout to get the crowd pumped for the show. But aside from that, everyone worked hard, but it felt like this was designed to make Lola Vice stand out, and she most definitely did. And she even scored the win for her team with a spinning back fist. Could Lola be the next NXT Women's Champion? There's a very good chance she could walk out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida at NXT No Mercy on the 27th of September. She could become the next NXT Women's Champion. It's very possible. So, but anyways, that's the best I could do. That's 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. And as far as overall goes, this was not good. This, like I said, this was a back to reality show. It felt a bit different in terms of editing. The timing felt different in terms of when they scheduled their commercial breaks. It was paced okay though, so no over complaints, but but in all honesty, this was not a good show. I mean, way too many cutouts, way too many short matches. We only had 2 good matches on this show, and that's it. Mm-hmm. I mean, this was one of the worst NXTs of the year, if not the worst NXT of this year. I mean, I get it. You're coming off a pay-per-view, and we're approaching a holiday weekend, and I get that. I kind of feel like they punted this week. They punted big time. So I'm sorry to do this, but I gotta be the man who tells it like it is. I can only give this maybe 2 out of 10 because we only had 2 good matches and all the others were honestly. I'm sorry. Not a good show at all. One of the worst, if not the worst NXT I've seen this year. This felt like a 2.0 show, for goodness sakes. 2 out of 10, mainly because of those 2 good matches. Ricky Saint, if you're pressed for time, there's only 2 matches you need to go out of your way to see. Ricky Saints and Josh Briggs in the main event. Everything else, avoid. Period. And the statement and the quotation, MF, take us home.
I'm going to be a little more generous. I'm only going to go 1 point higher. I'm going to say 3 out of 10. Yes, you made the valid point about how the matches were a disaster and how short they were. Granted, I kind of felt like this was indeed a punt. I do agree with the fact that I feel like it was a punt because of the fact with everything that went down. It was a letdown and then some. So I really got nothing more to say, Anthony. Let's call it a night.
And we will do just that. So that will indeed put the bow on this edition of Ridiculously Raw. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in as always. We will be back with you again on Thursday night at 10:30, right back here on the Tone 25 for the season premiere of TXN Sports World College Football Thursday with a huge triple main event headlining it. Texas versus Ohio State, LSU versus Clemson, and Notre Dame versus Miami. So many, and we got some other good matchups as well, but those are the three standouts, the three biggies this week in one of the most stacked week one lineups I've seen in a long time. So we'll get into that on Thursday. And then Friday night, 10:30, MF will have it, Braves Fan 95, Cerebral Smack Talk. We got TNA Impact. We got Friday Night SmackDown. And MF and I will share the results of RWA Legacy. RWA Legacy 18 that went down this past Saturday night at the Johnston Rec Center in Johnston, Rhode Island. A lot to get into on that. We'll set aside some time for that, and that's it. So, and then 1 week from tonight, we do it all over again with Ridiculously Raw, Monday Night Raw, and NXT. So, the fallout from Clash in Paris, and then we start the build to WrestlePalooza, so the first pay-per-view to stream on that new ESPN app. So we'll see how that goes. So that's it. So until Thursday night for the season premiere of TXN Sports World College Football Thursday, this is Anthony Florio here for Good Old MF, Michael Fletcher, and in spirit, the Phenom, Michael Bullock, and of course, always and forever, our First Lady of Talking Wrestling TXN, the one and only Twisted Angel Didi Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed couple of days. And until Thursday night, for the season premiere of College Football Thursday, you have been watching Ridiculously Raw right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and Streaming.com. And remember, my friends, when anyone tells you beyond anything else, wrestling is indeed actually real. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long, and bye, everybody, bye.